Hey everybody, I've got two pieces of Stadia news for you today. Before we get started, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Number one, click on the like button, then click on the subscribe button. Then, Bill, you said that there were only two things you're going to ask us to do. I lied. I want you to do a third thing for me. Click on the bell so you get notified every time that I post something new. With all of that being said, let's get started and talk about two games coming to Google Stadia. The two games that are on their way to Google Stadia are Windbound, and I don't know how to pronounce this one. It's either CrisTales, CrisTales, or Cris Tales. I'm not sure how it is that you're supposed to pronounce it. Let's start with Windbound. Look, it's 3 years since the release of the Nintendo Switch. It's 3 years since the release of Breath of the Wild, and we are starting to see that game's influence on other games. And when you look at Windbound, it is very, very hard not to see Breath of the Wild as an inspiration for this game. That being said, you know, I'm sure that there's going to be people out there who say, oh, look, a Breath of the Wild clone, blah, blah, blah. And what I will say to that is Breath of the Wild is, in my opinion, the greatest game ever made. So if I can have more of that, yes, please, I'm fine with that. Especially if they can take that model and do something else with it. This game looks like Breath of the Wild in art direction. The character feels like they move like Link does in Breath of the Wild. The combat even looks like Breath of the Wild's combat. But then you can see what happens where you are now doing resource gathering and using that resource gathering in order to build a boat so that you can go to another island and do it all over again. And that's where they've got me way more interested. I think that this one looks really, really cool. So the game is developed by Five Lives Studios and is published by Deep Silver. Here's what they have to say about it. As Kara, you are a warrior caught at sea in a fierce storm and adrift from your tribe. Thrown from your boat and at the mercy of turbulent waters, you are tossed onto the shores of the Forbidden Islands, a mysterious paradise. Shipwrecked alone, you must explore, adapt, and navigate the land and perilous seas to stay alive. Uncover the secrets within. Embark on a personal journey of discovery, the history of an idyllic Forbidden Islands, each holding the key to a mystery and unexpected revelations. Explore as far as the eye can see. Head towards the horizon, advancing across the islands, each with their own diverse wildlife, landscapes, and challenges to face. Live off the land, scavenge the island's untamed terrain for resources that you can use to craft a full range of tools and weapons to hunt wildlife and upgrade your boat. You must set sail when resources become scarce. Build your perfect seacraft. Your boat is a key companion on your journey. Carefully craft your own custom sailing vessel to take on the treacherous waters traversing from one island to the next, and design your boat to battle tempestuous winds, monstrous waves, and dangerous sea creatures. This feels like they looked at Zelda and they said, let's take a little bit of Breath of the Wild. We're going to take a little bit of Wind Waker. We'll mix in some crafting stuff too, put it all together, and make our own game. And for that, I say kudos. I'm looking forward to trying it out. Now, hopefully, it turns out to be awesome and not a cheap knockoff. But from what I see, I am really impressed and very, very much looking forward to this game. The next game that was announced today looks really fantastic as far as the art design goes. Everything looks like it was hand-drawn, and it would totally be at home as a TV show or a movie instead of a video game. Now, I'm not sure if what we got to see in this particular video was gameplay or cutscene, because it's really, really up in the air. I feel like it's all cutscene that we got to see. I've never been a fan of games, I don't want to say glorifying, but using the cutscenes to sell the game when they should be using gameplay to sell the game. So I'm very curious to find out what this game actually plays like. However, I do like the art direction, and I like what they're telling us about this particular game. The game is made by Dreams Uncorporated, and it is published by Modus Games. Here's what they have to say about it. Peer into the past, act in the present, and watch as your choices dynamically change the future, all on one screen as you play. Beautifully hand-drawn 2D animations bring to life to a world where your choices will change both the present and the future across more than 20 hours of gameplay. I'm going to stop there for a second and point out that 20 hours of gameplay, that for me sounds really, really good. Why does that sound really good to me? Well, because I don't have a very long attention span. And what usually happens is I will start one of these huge JRPGs and I don't even get halfway through the damn thing because I'm too distractible. I find some new shiny thing to distract me and I never get back to it. And then by the time I decide that I'd like to play that game again, I have forgotten everything that I learned about how to play. And so I have to start over. And that's a pretty daunting task when you're looking at a game that has a huge span of hours that go into it. So what I prefer are games that are shorter, or what would be the best of, I guess, both worlds is a game that you can complete in a relatively short amount of time without like speed running it, but that also gives you lots of optional extra content for those people who really want to sink their teeth into a JRPG. The thing about JRPGs is that they're almost all super, super long. And even though I really love the genre, I have trouble sticking with them for long enough to really appreciate what happens in the story. And that's just a personal problem of mine. Let's get back to the description. You'll experience a unique combination of branching stories, innovative combat, and classic RPG progression in Cris Tales or CrisTales or CrisTales, I don't know how to say it, exciting and unforgettable exploration of how our actions echo through time. Features: a love letter to classic JRPGs inspired by timeless JRPGs. Meet and recruit a unique cast of teammates, challenge a myriad of enemies, and make your way through an expansive world. Experience the past, present, and future simultaneously. Peer into them, learn from the past, decide on actions in the present, and alter the course of the future in ways that will reshape the world dynamically depending on the choices you make. Master strategic turn-based combat. Warp your enemies into the past or future. Synchronize attacks for enhanced group abilities and master the timing of the attack and defense to go beyond your party's limits in combat. Uncover a fascinating story and characters. The Empress's plot to take over the world is complex and layered. Use your wits to recruit powerful allies throughout the world to uncover and undo her multifaceted web, and to make your way to the true ending of this enchanting tale. Discover a beautiful world, climb aboard an airship or boat, and traverse this handcrafted dark fairy tale world from the shining kingdom of CrisTales to the slums of St. Clarity. Discover each unique location and shape its future. So when are we going to actually play these games on Google Stadia? Well, Windbound is coming out on August 28th, 2020, and CrisTales, and I think that's the pronunciation that I've decided to go with, is coming on November 17th, 2020. So we've got quite a long time before we can get to those, but up until then, we're going to have plenty to do with Elder Scrolls Online and the other bunch of games that we got here in June. At the bottom of the press release from Google, they even said more games are coming to Stadia this year, including Marvel's Avengers, Baldur's Gate 3, PGA Tour 2K21, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. For a full list of games available, check it out over at stadia.com. Before we end this video, do me a favor. Tell me, of those two games, Windbound and CrisTales, which one are you more excited for and why? Let me know in the comment section down below. And then, of course, do all of the YouTube things that we always ask you to do because it really does help. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.